Hey true believers, this is Dr. T and welcome to my comic book channel. Today I get to show you my first completed run of graded books. Stay tuned. Within the last week, I finished a run of 10 graded 9.8 books. One of these books is a CBCS book that I've had for some time, and the other 9 are CGC graded books. And like I said, all in a 9.8, and these books are from Wolverine Volume 1, starting in 1988. The first one on the list, Wolverine number 10. This is the first battle at this time in the Wolverine continuity and from his story. This is the first battle between Sabretooth and Wolverine, and it says up here, before Wolverine had claws, but of course, this book was published in 1989, and the origin story of Wolverine was published in 2001 when we learned that James Howlett, in fact, was born as a mutant and had bone claws, but at this time they had not come up with that origin story, and for the longest time it was thought that it was the Weapon X program that had placed the adamantium claws inside of Wolverine's body, but here in this book he had no claws. So here's that, and this is actually the only CBCS graded book that I own. This is the one that helped me complete this run of 10 issues. Here is Wolverine number 9 from 1989, and here you have this pinup on the back cover by Kieran Dwyer, and so all these pinups are really nice with these early Wolverine Volume 1 books. But yeah, this was the one I most recently purchased. I already bought it graded off of eBay, got a good price on it. Didn't take me long to decide to pull the trigger. I've been watching for this book the entire year in an effort to complete this run, and once I saw a price that I liked, I think I bought this book for $70 plus shipping, and that had been the lowest price that I had seen. I made an offer, and the seller accepted the offer, and this is what completed the run of 10. And then I also want to make sure I show the pinup on the back of issue number 10 right here. And this back cover pinup by Kent Williams. And of course I have here Wolverine number 8, this pretty classic Joe Fixit with Patch in the tuxedos on the cover. Absolutely love this book. This was one of the first books that I've ever upgraded in. I haven't done a lot of upgrading in my books. I do need to do more of that, but I originally had this book in a 9.6. Sold that book for $50, and this was a while ago. This had to have been 7-8 years ago, and then I picked this book up, I think, for about $90, which I'm glad I did at the time, because boy, this would have been hard to get in a 9.8 right now. I definitely would have had to have settled for a 9.6 or so. And then we have this back pinup cover by Rob Liefeld, and there's that back pinup cover. But just love having this book in a 9.8 as a big Wolverine fan. Here's Wolverine number 7 from 1989. There's Joe Fixit, Patch. I believe that's Jessica Drew on the cover. I have read all of these books. I have the Wolverine Essentials volume that covers all of these books and Wolverine's run as Patch in Madripoor, which we learn is in the MCU from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. And so my ears perked up when I saw Madripoor, because having read all of these stories, we know that Wolverine spent some time there, and that was where that city got a lot of attention in this Chris Claremont run. And interestingly enough, this book does not have a pinup on the back cover. But yeah, love the Joe Fixit cover and story here. Here's Wolverine number 6. So we just have Todd McFarlane pinup on the back cover. I'll show that in a moment. But again, this Chris Claremont story here. You have Rough House. Is that Blood? Yeah, Bloodsport right there on the cover as well. And then you have this Todd McFarlane pinup on the back. Perhaps it would be neat to send this in and ask him to sign the back cover with his upcoming signing. I really hadn't thought about that, but I'm sure he would do it since this is his artwork and this is not on one of the banned copies of books that he says he will not sign, but he did this artwork, so I'm sure he would. But that's a really nice pinup of Logan there on the back. And then here's number 5. Just a good action cover of Wolverine there in Madripoor. Just a very different look for Wolverine compared to the brown suit back here, compared to the yellow suit. Just, it was really nice that they were just trying to explore this character in a different part of the world and the depth that this character has to offer and has continued to offer in the Marvel Universe. And then we have this pinup on the back by John Bolton. Little bit of roughhousing going on there from Wolverine, but we wouldn't expect anything less from our favorite mutant, at least my favorite mutant. And then all of these books I've picked up over the last, probably over the last 8 or 9 years. I have slowly been completing this run. I have a lot of interest in the book that I buy, whether it be X-Men, Fantastic Four, Thor stuff, bunch of Wolverine things, Captain America, and so it's just hard to focus for me on one specific Alpha. I have some Alpha Flight graded books. Hard to pinpoint and focus in on just one character, but I have decided if I'm going to do it, it is going to be on Wolverine, and I would like to continue that part of my collection, as well as various Captain America things. But I have, of any character, I have the most Wolverine books, and still needing to get that elusive Hulk 181 and 180, but I have my eye on them, as well as Giant Size X-Men #1. I am actively trying to think how I'm going to do that, what books I need to sell to make that happen, because that is very much a collecting priority for me to continue this Wolverine must-have, at least the books that are must-have for any collector of Wolverine, and those are the big ones, and they have to be in the collection. This was also a book I purchased just this year, probably 3 or 4 months ago, and this is one of the more expensive of this run of 10 books. Not more than 8, not more obviously than issue 1, but this book, this is not especially cheap. I forget exactly what I paid for this book, but it might have been just this year $130 perhaps. I don't think it was high as $180, but this book goes for a pretty penny for one of these. It's just harder to find. And but this is the first appearance of Bloodsport and Roughhouse. They're part of the issue 4, 5, and 6 villains here in this volume 1 of Wolverine's story. But yeah, really, really like this. And with the Jessica Drew appearance, of course, and again, Chris Claremont just doing so much work for Marvel during this time in the late 70s, 80s, and early 90s. And then on the back, we have this pinup cover by Barry Windsor Smith. Very nice. That is actually one of my favorite pinups. Love that purple, and with that Wolverine just partial body sketch there, but that is really fantastic. Yeah, love this issue 4. And like I said, this was the second to last book that I picked up to complete this run. And then issue number 3, I must have bought this raw back in 2012 or 13 at the Salt Lake Comic Con. At least that's what its name was at the time, before its San Diego Comic Con lawsuit battle. That's a story. You could just Google that and you'll find all sorts of information about why that happened. But at the time, the Salt Lake Comic Con bought this book raw for $12, and just this year sent it into CGC, hoping that it would get the 9.8. It did, and I had this book all that time, really believing that it was in fact a near mint copy of this book. But there, of course, Wolverine getting shot up and needing to get himself healed. We have this pinup on the back by Kevin Nolan. There's Wolverine, his savage self. In the nude? No, maybe he has some shorts on. Maybe he has some shorts on right there. And he's eating a bird. Eating a bird like the animal that he is. But there's that pinup. Issue 3, and then I have had issue number 2 for quite a while. See the old label. So I would have bought this book. I'm pretty sure I bought this book before 2016 or 15, but I've had this book for a while. I probably bought it. You know what? I do remember what I bought this book for. I bought this book for like $32. It was some crazy auction where I ended up putting in a bid, and I won it for this low amount. And this back pinup by Bill Sienkowitz. Sorry if I just totally destroyed that name, but there's the pinup on the back. That's probably one of the more interesting choices of artwork for Wolverine. Just those broad shoulders, huge build, and the hairy beast that he is. And then the big one, the most expensive book of the batch, along with issue number 8, Wolverine #1, that started his first ongoing series in 1988. I had this book I bought graded at a 9.8, but before I owned this book, I owned a 9.6 copy that I had bought raw in Santa Monica, California at a local comic shop there. Back in 2011, I bought that Near Mint Plus book, sent it into CGC probably the following year in 2012. It came back a 9.6, which at that time I'd only been collecting graded books for a couple of years, so I was pleased. I started collecting grading books in 2010, and I was perfectly pleased to get that 9.6 back. But I thought, I should upgrade, and so I sold that book I think for $40 or $50, and I picked this book up probably back in 2015, just when they went through their evolution on their holders. And so this is probably back in 2015, 2016 at the latest, and I picked this book up for $90 at the time. And we have this pinup by John Byrne on the back. Sorry for that awful piece of blue tape there. But here, Wolverine #1 from 1988, my complete run of Wolverine Volume 1 from 1988 into 1989 True Believers. And I'm glad I could share this part of my collection with you. And as always, remember, True Believers, comics for life.